Okay, you guys, we are back with another bangin' video, honey. And today we are talking about none other than Miss Ghetto Fabulous herself, Cardi B. Yes, ghetto and fabulous. Two things can be true at the same time. And where I'm from, Jamaica, that's exactly what we call it, ghetto fabulous. You didn't come from nothing just to pretend you came from something. You came from the trenches, but you're shining, you're paid, you're global, and that's the truth whether people like it or not. Now listen, a lot has been going on with Cardi B lately, and every time I open my phone, there's a new headline, a new allegation, a new mess, a new screenshot, a new emotional outburst, a new think piece, and I'm sitting here like, Cardi, baby, breathe. Because at some point, the internet is not your diary, it's not your therapist, and it is definitely not your safe space. The internet is a courtroom with no judge, no jury, and no mercy. And Cardi keeps walking in there voluntarily, barefoot, emotionally naked, and wondering why she keeps getting cut. If I could say one thing to Cardi B, just one, it would be this. Every time you feel the urge to go online and spill your personal business, write it down instead. Get a notebook, get a journal, get a burn book, hell, get 10 burn books. Write everything you want to say, everything you want to expose, everything you want to scream, and then close it, burn it, tear it up, flush it. Do not post it. Because once you release something into the universe, especially onto the internet, you cannot take it back. Words have power, energy has power, intent has power, and people laugh at that kind of talk until their lives start spiraling in ways they don't understand. I've heard people joking, saying things like, oh, she's making voodoo dolls, and while some people might laugh that off, I don't. Because you do not play with energy, you do not play with people's free will, and you do not play spiritual games when you're emotionally unstable. That is how people lose themselves. That is how people end up mentally unwell, paranoid, exhausted, and stuck in cycles they can't break. Now, let's get into what everyone is really here for. Allegedly, and I need to say allegedly because I was not there, I did not see it with my own two eyes, it is being said that Mr. Stefon Diggs has cut ties with Cardi B because of the drama surrounding her life. Allegedly, he has decided that this situation is more than he signed up for. And listen, his last name is Diggs. They say he likes to dig. No lies told there. He has absolutely lived up to the reputation of that name. Allegedly, of course. What's being said is that Stefon Diggs enjoyed a very specific type of lifestyle before Cardi B entered the picture. A quiet lifestyle, a discreet lifestyle, a do what I want with who I want and nobody knows about it lifestyle. According to the rumors, he had women, situationships, children, complications, yet somehow it was never headline news. Nobody was blogging about it, nobody was posting think pieces, nobody was dissecting his every move. But the moment Cardi B entered the picture, cameras came out, blogs came alive, narratives started forming, and allegedly, he felt like his entire life was suddenly under a microscope he never asked for. And this is where people need to be honest. Cardi B is not just famous, she is culturally famous. She moves culture, she moves conversation, she moves traffic. Being attached to her means attention whether you want it or not. Now ask yourself this honestly. Outside of sports fans, who knew Stefon Diggs like that before Cardi B? And I'm not being shady, I'm being real. Most people are not hardcore sports fanatics. Some like football, some like basketball, some like baseball. Me, I'll watch a little cricket, I'll watch gymnastics, I'll watch synchronized swimming, I'll watch track and field, especially track and field because Jamaica is that girl. But rugby, football, baseball, I don't even know which one he plays, and I genuinely don't care. And most of the general public doesn't either. That's just the truth. So if he did decide to walk away from Cardi B, let's be very clear, that is his loss, not hers. And when I say her loss, I'm talking about him. Drake reference, a little humor, relax. Now, let's talk about something deeper, because this is where I clocked it early. When Cardi announced her album title, Am I the Drama, I said it immediately. This woman does not understand the power of words. You don't name things lightly. You don't joke with language. You don't invoke chaos and then act surprised when chaos shows up with a suitcase and refuses to leave. The Bible tells us that the words of our mouth are food to our soul. Sometimes you have to pray and ask God to cancel every negative word you've spoken over yourself, intentionally or unintentionally, because words are seeds, and when you plant drama, you harvest drama.
From the moment that album title dropped, it has been drama on drama on drama. Relationships, legal issues, public fights, emotional breakdowns. It never ends. And people will call it coincidence, but spiritually minded people know better. Now, here's the part people don't want to admit. Cardi B loves the mess. She thrives in it. She believes deep in her heart that it serves her, that it keeps her relevant, that it keeps people talking. And in some ways, she's not wrong. Controversy has always been part of her brand. But here's the problem. What starts as strategy can turn into a spiritual prison. You don't control chaos forever. Eventually, chaos controls you. People think karma is something that happens later, like a punishment that shows up at the end of the movie. No, karma is now. The mere fact that we are on this planet, working, paying bills, aging, getting sick, losing people, that is karma already in motion. Bob Marley said it best, "You think you're in heaven, but you're living in hell." We wanted the human experience so badly, and now here we are, wondering why it's so heavy. This is why I keep saying Cardi B needs mentorship, real mentorship, not yes men, not clout chasers, not people who benefit from her staying chaotic. She needs someone like Eve. Let's talk about Eve. Eve came from the ghetto. Eve worked in a strip club. Eve had rough relationships. Eve was outside. And then Eve said, I didn't work this hard to leave the ghetto just to go back. And she leveled up. She evolved. She matured. She chose peace over noise. That's the blueprint. And Cardi B could follow it if she wanted to. But wanting peace means letting go of the adrenaline that drama brings. And not everybody is ready for that.
However, now at this point, everybody knows that Cardi B and Stefon Diggs are involved. This isn't speculation anymore, this isn't maybe, this isn't allegedly dating. These two ended up having a child together, a son whose official government name has not been publicly revealed yet. All we really know is that they call him Touchdown, which honestly feels very fitting considering who his father is. But while the baby is adorable and innocent, the circumstances surrounding this relationship are anything but simple. Let's start with the obvious complications that existed from the very beginning, because none of this happened in a vacuum. Cardi B is still legally married to Offset. Yes, they are in divorce proceedings. Yes, the relationship has been over in every way that counts emotionally, but legally speaking, married is married. That alone already places Cardi in a messy, emotionally charged space where decisions aren't being made from clarity, but from transition and vulnerability. Then you have Stefon Diggs, who within a single year had 4 children by multiple women. Cardi B's son was his last born in that sequence, and I really need people to stop glossing over that detail, because that is not normal behavior. That is not oops. That is not one mistake. That is a very clear pattern of reckless decision-making, lack of boundaries, and impulsive behavior when it comes to sex, relationships, and responsibility. So already, before we even get to the warnings, the ultimatums, and the foot-down moment, we are looking at a relationship that started with instability on both sides. Now, according to sources close to Cardi B, she has allegedly made herself very clear with Stefon Diggs. The word being used is blunt. No confusion, no mixed signals, no room for interpretation. Allegedly, Cardi told him something along the lines of, if you cheat on me, we're done. If you get another woman pregnant while we're together, we are done. No forgiveness, no second chances, no excuses. And listen, on paper, that sounds amazing. I love a woman setting standards. I love a woman saying, "You will not play in my face," especially after everything Cardi went through publicly with Offset. Nobody can say Cardi hasn't been embarrassed enough already. So I completely understand why she would draw a hard line and say, "I'm not doing this again." The source also claims that Cardi has been very intentional about making sure Stefon understands that she is not the type of woman who is going to quietly tolerate disrespect. If another woman comes forward with a baby after they've made things official and started a family together, she's walking away without hesitation. Now, here's where the narrative shifts, because the same sources are also saying that Cardi B knew exactly who Stefon Diggs was before getting involved with him. She knew his reputation, she knew his past, she knew the stories, the rumors, the babies, the allegations. And according to them, Cardi is not dumb. She didn't stumble into this blindly. The mindset, allegedly, is that Cardi feels like that was then and this is now. She believes that people can change. She believes that once they made things official, Stefon stopped moving the way he used to move. She believes that since they're a family now, since they have a child together, that he's been faithful and committed. And this is where my personal opinion comes in, because to me, this way of thinking feels extremely backwards. Stefon Diggs has been Stefon digging since before Cardi, during Cardi, and if history tells us anything, likely after Cardi. And I'm not saying that to be hateful. I'm saying that because patterns matter more than promises. People also need to stop acting like Cardi and Stefon just randomly met, fell in love, and everything happened overnight. There were rumors long before this baby was born. Y'all remember when Cardi B was pregnant with Blossom and there were whispers that she was sneaking around with Stefon Diggs even back then? These two didn't just cross paths yesterday. Allegedly, they've been dealing with each other for a while, and if that's the case, then Cardi has seen firsthand how this man moves. Which brings me to the next issue. Stefon Diggs comes with a lot of baggage, and I'm not just talking about baby mamas. There have been lawsuits filed by different men alleging misconduct. There have been long-standing rumors about him allegedly being bisexual. There have been countless women who have come forward claiming they were involved with him, even during the time Cardi B was allegedly exclusive with him. Now yes, some of these women could be lying. We live in a clout era. People do lie. But when it's woman after woman after woman, at some point you have to stop dismissing everything as haters or attention seekers. Where there is smoke, then more smoke, and even more smoke, there is usually a fire somewhere. And I genuinely wonder why Cardi believes she is the exception to a rule that has applied to literally every other woman he's been involved with. Another source claims that Cardi B likes Stefon Diggs because he is a present father. He shows up for his kids, he's involved, and that is important to her, especially given her own childhood experiences and her values as a parent. But the same source also says Stefon has essentially already been warned. He has one strike. No cheating, no embarrassing her, no more babies. That's it. And while that sounds great, I don't know if Cardi fully understands that you cannot set boundaries for someone who has never respected boundaries in the first place. A man who had multiple babies within months of each other was not practicing self-control then, and it's hard to believe he suddenly developed it now just because the woman involved is famous. Out of all the women Stefon Diggs has been involved with, Cardi B is the celebrity. She's the one in the spotlight. She's the one with the money, the fame, the platform. And I can't help but feel like there's a part of Cardi that believes that because she's Cardi B, this situation is different, that she's not like the other women, that she's the main one, that he'll change for her. And I hate to say it, but that mindset has trapped so many women before her. Because at the end of the day, babies are permanent. This is not an 18-year situation. You are tied to this person for life. Holidays, graduations, emergencies, everything. And now, not only is Cardi tied to him forever, but so are multiple other women. So what exactly makes her situation different?
Now, let me be clear. I love the standards Cardi B is trying to set. I do. She's saying, you will not cheat. You will not make me look stupid. You will not bring another baby into this situation. That's great. But standards only work if the person you're setting them for is capable of meeting them. Cardi allegedly gave birth in November 2025. That same year, Stefon Diggs had 3 other children with 3 other women. So now she's saying that moving forward, there better not be another baby. He can bring home a Super Bowl ring, he can bring home a championship, but he cannot bring home another child. And honestly, good luck, sir. I'm going to say something that might make people uncomfortable, but I'm tired of folks pretending like this is some deep, genuine love story. This does not feel like a real relationship. This feels like 2 people who were casually messing around, an accidental pregnancy happened, and now they're trying to force something into legitimacy because the alternative is embarrassment. It feels like performative couple behavior, fake boyfriend-girlfriend energy, and not because Cardi wants to lie to the world, but because she doesn't want to look like she lost. Meanwhile, Stefon is out here living his life, probably surrounded by women at all times, with way too many options to realistically settle down. Even though I'm not the biggest Cardi B fan, I genuinely feel a little bad for her, because this situation feels like self-inflicted pain. This man was supposed to be for fun, a rebound, a distraction, a good time, not a long time. At this point, it's not even about Stefon Diggs anymore, it's about Cardi's self-respect. She's in too deep. She feels like she has something to prove, like she has to show she moved on from Offset, like she needs to present a perfect family image. If Cardi B was really standing in her strength, real strength, not performative strength, this is what she would have done. She would have handled her co-parenting situation privately, legally, and cleanly. Birth certificate, lawyer, clear boundaries, no emotional bargaining, no public spirals. And then she would have gone straight into the studio. Music is her weapon. Music is her power. Music is where she wins. She should have been throwing lyrical jabs, not Instagram captions. Because if you knew she was married and still chose to be there, then don't act shocked when consequences arrive. Instead, she's letting 2 men, Offset and Stefon Diggs, pull her into emotional tug-of-war. 2 circus clowns, 2 distractions, 2 anchors pulling her down. At the end of the day, I don't know if Stefon Diggs and Cardi B are really done. None of us do. Social media is a highlight reel mixed with delusion. But what I do know is that Cardi B is bigger than this. She is more talented than this. And she deserves more peace than she's allowing herself to have. Anyway, honey, I digress. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Stefon Diggs really walked away? Or is this just another chapter in the never-ending saga of Am I the Drama? Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.